2 years after Eliza Hart disappeared during a storm, the village of Ravenwood had learned to speak of her in the past tense. Her parents kept a lamp burning in their window. Her childhood friend Thomas still paused whenever he passed the old path to Ashcroft Manor. Everyone remembered the night Eliza vanished, rain against the shutters, thunder rolling over the hills, and a single light moving behind the manor's upper windows after the house was supposed to be empty. Ashcroft Manor stood above Ravenwood, with its stone walls darkened by age and ivy. It had belonged to Eliza's mother's family generations earlier, but no one had lived there for years. The villagers told stories about the place, as villages often do when a building has outlasted the people who knew it best. Some claimed they had heard music drifting from its halls. Others said the house simply held on to old sorrow. No one expected Eliza to return from it. Yet on an autumn evening, a figure appeared at the edge of the overgrown garden. Thomas saw her first. She wore the same silver locket she had worn the night she disappeared, and for one astonished second, he was certain she was exactly as he remembered. Then she stepped into the moonlight. Her face was pale, her expression distant, and her eyes seemed fixed on something just beyond the village. When Thomas called her name, she answered softly, as if her voice had traveled a great distance to reach him. Her parents ran to her, relieved beyond words. Eliza recognized them. She remembered the kitchen, the church bell, and Thomas's habit of tapping his thumb against his hand when he was nervous. But when they asked where she had been, she looked toward the manor and said, "Somewhere the house remembered me." In the days that followed, Ravenwood tried to welcome her home. Eliza sat with her family, walked through the square, and smiled when people spoke kindly to her. Still, something in her had changed. Her voice sometimes carried a faint echo, as though another person had repeated her words from a distant room. She woke before dawn and stood at the window facing Ashcroft Manor. Once, her mother found her tracing the shape of a key on the frosted glass. At a town gathering, Eliza agreed to tell what she could remember. Her memories came in fragments. She recalled following a light through the garden during the storm. She recalled a corridor that did not seem to end, a locked door with a key already turned on the other side, and a room where the windows looked out not onto the sky, but onto the deepest roots of the earth. Time had felt strange there. A minute could stretch into a season, while a lifetime could pass in the space between two heartbeats. The villagers listened in silence. Some thought grief had confused her. Others wondered whether she had been lost somewhere beyond Ravenwood and had returned with a story shaped by fear. Then the manor began to answer. Lamps flickered whenever Eliza passed its gates. Cold air moved through rooms with closed windows. At night, people living nearest the hill heard a low knocking beneath the floorboards, slow and patient, like someone waiting to be let in. Eliza's parents begged her not to return to the manor, but she could not stay away. She said the house was calling her by a name she did not know. Thomas refused to let her go alone. Together, they searched the village records and found a bundle of letters written by Eliza's great-grandmother, an Ashcroft by birth. The letters described a private ritual performed after a season of loss. The family had tried to bind the grief of the house to its bloodline rather than face it openly. They believed silence would protect them. Instead, the silence became a promise the manor expected each generation to keep. The letters explained why Eliza had been drawn there. Through her mother, she carried the Ashcroft name in her family line. The storm had awakened the old ritual, and the manor had mistaken her for someone who had come to renew it. Eliza had not been taken by a ghost or a monster. She had been held inside a place shaped by every secret the family had refused to name. While Ravenwood mourned her for 2 years, she had wandered through the house's memories, hearing old voices repeat the same sorrow over and over. On the following night, Eliza and Thomas climbed the hill together. Her parents followed at a distance, terrified but unwilling to abandon her again. Inside the manor, the familiar rooms led them to a narrow corridor hidden behind a panel in the library. At its end stood the locked door from Eliza's memories. The key was already turned in the lock. Eliza placed her hand on it. For a moment, the house seemed to hold its breath. Then the door opened onto a small room, lined with portraits and family papers. There was no creature waiting inside. There was only evidence of a family that had buried its grief so deeply that it had given the grief a home. Eliza understood that the manor had changed her because it had filled her with that unfinished sorrow. She could either carry it forward, as her ancestors had done, or allow it to end with her. Instead of repeating the ritual, Eliza began to read the forgotten names aloud. Thomas read with her. Her parents joined them. One by one, they named the people who had been lost, the choices that had caused pain, and the fear that had kept the truth locked away. The house groaned around them, not in anger, but like an old structure releasing pressure after years of strain. The cold in the room lifted. The key fell from the lock. By morning, Ravenwood had changed with them. The manor did not become warm or cheerful, and its halls still held the marks of age. But the lights stopped flickering. The knocking beneath the floorboards faded. Eliza's voice lost its echo. She was not exactly the same woman who had vanished, and no one expected her to be. She had survived something no one else could fully understand. What mattered was that she was no longer alone with it. Over the next weeks, Eliza returned to ordinary life one careful step at a time. She helped her mother in the garden, walked with Thomas, and spoke about the years Ravenwood could not fully understand. The villagers stopped treating her as a mystery to solve. They met her with patience, accepting that healing did not erase what had happened, but gave it an honest place in the present. Eliza's return became a lesson Ravenwood carried quietly. People can come back from difficult places changed, not because they are beyond recognition, but because their experiences have added layers that others cannot immediately see. The answer is not always to demand that they become who they once were. Sometimes the kinder choice is to listen, to make room for what they have endured, and to let the truth be spoken before silence turns it into something heavier. If Eliza's return left you wondering what other secrets Ashcroft Manor may have held, share your theory in the comments. At Machine Minds, your opinion matters to us. Feel free to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, take care.